Hello there, and welcome. Today we are joined with Jeffrey.
Hello.
He is from Alchemy, but you might have seen him on this channel before for Philosophical Fridays. And Jeffrey and I have been chatting.
It's true.
It's very true. We have been chatting, and we've been kind of being critique partners for each other since probably December. And we've been sending chapters back and forth to each other. And we were both kind of getting tired of working on our novels, so we decided, hey, let's work on a short story. Basically what had happened is Jeffrey said something about, what would happen if everyone just talked about their depression all the time? And I was like, that sounds like a good idea for a short story. And then I was like, let's just write a short story. We're both tired on working on our books. Let's take a little break and do something fun. Let's do something that's a step away. So we both took that general concept and wrote a short story about that concept. And it's really interesting because we wrote very, very different stories.
Yeah. I think that was part of the appeal, is to see what you could do with this really basic premise. Because there are so many different directions you can go. You could take it in a more magical place, which maybe that's what I did.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, and I took it in a much more realistic alternate future kind of, or alternate reality kind of situation.
Yeah, like a dystopic. Well,
it was kind of dystopic. Yeah, that's fine. We can tell them. That doesn't give away anything that happens. And so we've written what's called flash fiction, which means it's under 1,000 words. I just got mine in 998.
Technically, mine is not under. It's exactly at 1,000, so
it'll be accepted.
It counts, yeah.
It'll be accepted. And if he had to, I'm sure he could cut out one word.
Yeah.
If they really needed it under 1,000. But normally it's 1,000 and under. What we're going to do is on my video, I'm going to read my story, and we're going to talk about the process of being critique partners for my story and how that went and how he critiqued me. And then on his channel, we'll link that down below and up in the doobly-doo, whichever side. I think it's this side. And
yes.
He is going to share his story, and we're going to talk about his process and my process for critiquing him. So you get to see both sides of being a critique partner, because something that is really hard as a writer is finding someone who can actually be your critique partner and has a similar writing interest and can see the things that maybe you struggle with, but can also accept some of your flaws as a writer.
And I think that something with the two of us is that we have an appreciation for a lot of different types of genres and, art in general. So I could pick a critique partner who might not care for what I'm doing at all, but that doesn't mean that I'm doing something bad. So I feel like we're both able to see what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish.
And we're both writing in similar genres, in that whole sci-fi realm. They're quite different stories, which is really interesting. But they're both kind of sci-fi fantasy. They both have both elements in there. So we're both interested in the same kind of story, so that makes it really fun to read. So it's a treat to get to read the other person's story, but then also to be part of that process of writing is also really fun, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we're going to focus on these short stories, not our novels. But before we do, I also want to talk about how we became critique partners, because I think a lot of people struggle to find a good critique partner. So do you want to talk a little bit about how we found each other?
I can talk about that, but I'm afraid that it's not going to be a good blueprint for somebody looking to find a critique partner. I mean, maybe. I guess the takeaway would be, so I just saw Michelle commenting on someone's YouTube channel wanting to collaborate with them, and I was like, oh, she seems receptive to collaboration, obviously. Let's become friends. I found out she was a writer. That's obviously a green light as far as bringing things up and seeing what we could talk about. It just seemed really natural, especially after she was on my typewriters video series. And I guess maybe the takeaway, if you want to find a critique partner, is to carve out some kind of space for yourself where you're actually publicly visible as a writer, and you are able to see other people who are doing similar things, and then just take the leap, try to make connections, see what you can do.
Yeah, I think just commenting. YouTube, I think, is a really great place, more so than forums, because you have somebody who's already willing to put themselves out there by creating a YouTube channel. And I'm not saying you need to to find a critique partner, but it'll definitely help to put yourself out there. Even if you're not making videos, but by commenting on other people's videos who are writers, I think is a really good place to start. Like we both also kind of worked with this other YouTuber who talked about her story, and then we were like, yo, you right? Like, let's talk about that. So it's just putting yourself out there, I think.
Yeah.
Is really good advice. But without further ado, let me go ahead and read this story for you guys. How do you want to do it? Moa rolled on her side, the mattress creaked. River spun a dirty penny between his fingers. She'd tell him to clean it, but the words would be lost. It's gonna happen no matter what. You're right, he said as his thumb polished the president's head. Most do it in the heat of the moment. I guess I'd like to be in control of how it happened. When it comes down to it, all this talk is just hot air, Moa gave a weak smile. Speaking of, you stink. Yeah, I know, he sighed and fell into his back, bouncing Moa. When the bed settled, Moa pulled a section of hair in front of her. So many dead ends. She flipped out her pocket knife and started slicing off the ends one by one. I heard Joey Mendoza and Alex Smith did it last week, River said. Good for them, Moa said. A 4-year-old did it the other day. Can you believe that? It has to be a record or something, River said, eyes fixed on the stupid coin. Yeah, good for her. It's better that way. At least she doesn't have to. Moa trailed off. I'm jealous. Honestly, I wish I had done it sooner. There are those. Here we go again. The ones that come to the schools or protest downtown, they say we shouldn't do it at all. River pushed himself up, briefly forgetting the penny. How can they think that? Because they're old, Moa said. And that was that. She grabbed a new section of dead ends to inspect. My hair is gross. My face is gross. I hate everything about the way I look. I wish I looked more like Amy Tanner. I think you're pretty. River dragged a finger across her forehead. She smacked the acrid hand away. Much prettier than Amy Tanner, he said. She cakes on her makeup, pretending to be pretty. That's really nice of you to say. Really, it is. But I just know that's not true. Moa rolled over to show her flaky scalp because at least River wouldn't be able to look at her face. I think I'm going to do it at school, River said. Show them what they are really doing to us. You never stop, do you? There is something wrong with this world, and I need to show them. People need to stop hiding their true feelings. I'll do just that. Show the school. Show everyone exactly how I feel. Some people go years before anyone finds out about them. This needs to stop. We need to talk about our feelings rather than just complain. I don't see how doing it in the school is going to change anything. You never do, he said under his breath. So you do hear me when I talk. I hate school. I hate everyone at school. I hate that I'm stuck in this stupid body. I hate that I'm stuck in this stupid world that will never change. Is this the way things should be? Moa sat up. The greasy clumps of her hair hung like silent wind chimes. I hate all this talk. I know, everyone does. Everyone is complacent to follow the same path. It's not right. Who are you to decide if it's right or wrong? Should I just do it because everyone else does it? Rivers sat up and gripped his penny. I've been researching and I found a forum. Let's just say it has some mind-blowing shit. They weren't always like this. Conspiracy theories aren't going to change the truth, Moa said, pocketing her knife. People were happy. People were faking it. How can you say that? You don't... I've seen the propaganda. Pictures of people smiling over dinner or with their dogs. The lifers use that to trick people like you. Truth is, they are just as scared. I think the people who do it are scared. Moa looked up. River's face was contorted into some fake sympathetic look that would have made Moa puke if she had the energy to. Which are you afraid of? Doing it or not doing it? I'm not scared. I'm ready to do it. I've been ready to do it. Honestly, I thought we would do it together. Moa stood up. Stupid. Why did you not say anything? Because you're always talking over me, thinking everything out loud, ignoring me completely so you could feel like you have something important to say. I thought you would one day realize. Thing is, you don't have the capacity to pay attention to anyone other than yourself. You are selfish, entitled, and don't give a shit about me. Rivers tried to step closer, but Moa pulled away and flicked her knife open in one fluid motion. She pointed the business end at River. Get out! They were both surprised by Moa's sudden outburst. Moa, I've tried to tell you time and time again how I felt. You never listened. You were never going to listen. All you ever do is talk. Fuck you. With or without you, I'm doing something. Moa pressed the knife onto her arm, indenting the soft skin. It felt no different from the pins she used to stick herself with when she was younger. River stood, wide-eyed, mouth open like an idiot. She pressed the knife hard enough to break the skin and sucked in air. She watched a drop of blood pool onto the surface of the blade. A force knocked into her, slamming her back and head onto the ground. River's panicked face lorded over her. She could hear nothing but the blood rushing from her head. She had imagined this moment many times. She thought it would be scary or painful, that she would feel heavy or sad or angry, but in this moment she felt weightless. She looked over and saw the stupid Penny face down.
Oh, so it didn't actually occur to me until just now, as you were reading, that I haven't heard that version.
Yeah.
Because we both did the final draft. Oh, yeah, there was a lot in there that I caught that I liked. Like the wind chime comparison.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that was like really beautiful as far as like something being drained of its music, drained of its life.
Mm-hmm.
The ending was really good. Like, you really, well, I guess we can talk about the process, and
Yeah.
we can talk about like how it ended previously and how it's changed. So where should we start?
Wherever you like.
Okay.
This is your rodeo now.
Yeah, so I guess in draft one, the thing that I really remember appreciating about what you'd written was mainly the way that you're sort of feeding us the information. You're kind of building this mystery. Like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about sex? That was like the obvious, thing that jumped into my mind. But I think early on, I think I remember telling you to play that up even more.
Yep.
Yeah. And also kind of restructure a little bit, because I felt like maybe there was something that gave it away too soon.
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted you to milk that tension and make people scratch their chins, maintain that sense of intrigue. And I think you did a really good job. Like, it's such a brilliant, like, dawning understanding that you're living in this world where, like, death by suicide is apparently just normalized now. And I think you've built a really cool world around, like, the idea of the lifers. Like, you're obviously, like, borrowing from real current things, but
Right.
I don't know. It's a great concept. I don't think that I'm the one who came up with the concept. I thought it was you.
No, you came up with the
Okay.
concept of what if everyone was just talking about their depression all the time?
Oh.
What if they were open about it? I don't remember what conversation led up
I
to
might have
that.
just been talking about being depressed.
Yeah, but you had brought that up, and I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds like a cool story idea. And I
Mhm.
started writing some of it, like, while we were sitting there.
I think another thing that jumped out is, like, the nature of the dynamic between the two characters. I always appreciated that right out the gate. That's something that you've always been really good at, as far as I'm concerned. And I struggle more with, like, leading with dialogue and building a story around dialogue. But I think that a drawback, because you're so good at that, you kind of, like, lose track of the world and
Yeah.
like, where people are in space, how they're interacting with objects.
Yeah, I even was rereading it before finishing the final draft, and I had someone do the same action twice. Like, they repeated the same action. Like, I never talked about them changing back into the original place in order for them to do the action twice. Because there's nothing wrong with doing an action twice, but it's like, how can you do it twice if it never came out? Like, putting something in their pocket and pulling it back out. I said that they put it in their pocket twice. Like, there was no pulling it out for it to change. So that's something that I quite easily lose track of.
Yeah.
Is the real world that they're in and how they're interacting with it. Because I get caught up, like you said, in the dialogue.
And sometimes whenever I'm writing a story, just because I have the same weakness, to account for that, I will just write out the concrete things that happen and have that as, like, a reference.
Oh, that's a good
And
idea.
then, I always, like, look to it. Like, you don't have to make it pretty, you don't have to make it poetic or compelling at all. Just something for yourself to know. It's like blocking if you're doing
Right.
a play. I have some kind of document where I'm doing that. On this topic of not really being sure where things are happening, I think the bed wasn't part of it originally, right?
No, the bed was his idea.
Yeah, the bed, I was like, well, if you want to make it seem even more like you're talking about sex, because there is a little too much ambiguity in the first draft, then, put them
Yeah.
on the bed, show them rolling around, just create that sense of a space that they're living in.
Because I had imagined they were on a bed the whole time, but I didn't bring that into the story. The first draft he read, he thought it took place on a train track.
Yeah, I thought they were like...
Ooh, that could have been really dramatic, though, if it was on a train track.
Lying down
my
God. Draft 4, coming soon.
Right?
Yeah, what else?
So what was the process of actually, like, how do you read something and critique it before giving the feedback?
I like to make sure that I'm reading something at least 3 times before I actually give any feedback, because first of all, I'm a little thick-headed at times, and I want to make sure that I've processed everything. And of course, knowing where something ends then contextualizes everything that happened before it. So I wanted to make sure that I really knew what you were trying to accomplish before I just brazenly came in and said, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, because I don't always know what I'm talking about. You really have to try to understand the objective of a piece before you get into that, I think. Not everybody functions that way. Some people just talk about what they like and what they dislike, and if they dislike your whole concept, they will tell you. I try to meet people where they are and work with their concept.
Yeah, and so we did 3 drafts. This is the final draft. The first draft, we sent it to each other. We gave a timeline. We sent it to each other. We gave us like a whole weekend to read it, and then we called each other on the phone and talked about it, and kind of like went through it together. I don't think you ever showed me your notes. We just kind of like talked about it.
Yeah, we just talked through the notes.
And I wrote down notes as we were going.
Yeah.
And I would like highlight things that you called out or like bold them so that I can remember to focus on them. And then we did the second draft, same thing. I think we gave each other like 2 weeks to work on the second draft,
something like that.
A week or 2, something like that. And then we did the same kind of process. We read each other's stories, and then we called each other and gave some feedback.
And I'm somebody who doesn't really like talking on the phone, but I feel like it was really helpful because we could bounce back and forth with ideas. It's not like I'm just giving you my feedback and it's dead. It's like dead on the page. You could like push back against things or ask for clarity. Yeah.
I think with critique partners, it is really good to have regular phone conversations about it, because you can read their comments all you want. You can even respond to the comments in the comment section. Like, you'll get emails if somebody comments back on a comment you made. We use Google Docs because it's connected to our email, so it's really easy and compatible. But I think talking on the phone, you just get that much greater understanding of what the other person's thinking and how they're reacting to it, and you can't really get the emotional reaction as much from the notes as you can talking about it, and you can really delve into that and ask the questions that you need to ask in order to figure out everything that's going on.
I think as far as like other things I remember actually evolving, one other thing that kind of showed up randomly was the knife.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really wonderful the way that you like incorporated it into her, like sawing at her hair, because it's kind of like Chekhov's gun, that whole thing. Like, make sure the knife is in there at some point. Like, this knife spontaneously appeared, and I was like, this story is suddenly very different.
At first, she was like just picking off the dead ends. You know how sometimes you see those people picking off the dead ends? That's originally how she was doing it. And then in the end, she just whips out a pocket knife that had never been in the story. And something about short stories is you want to have things there the whole time.
Yeah.
It needs to make sense that they appear. With novels, it's I mean, you don't do it as obviously in novels because you have more time to build it up. You still do it. It's called foreshadowing, but you don't do it as much in a novel as you would in a short story because you have such a small amount of time to get people engaged in the content and to get your point across. And if you confuse them, what's the point?
True. Very true.
They're not going to get anything, and you have such a short period of time to get them to understand everything too. So, but it's been a real pleasure, like doing this whole concept, and I'm really glad we got to actually meet in person to do this because we were going to just do it over the voice like we had been, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna be in the same state as you. Let's actually just meet up and record this live instead of via webcam like we were gonna do.
Was that an outro?
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
If you like this, go ahead and like, and subscribe, and check out his channel
We're going to
and
be
watch
doing the
his.
same process.
Pretty much, exactly.
Yeah.
And go ahead and comment down below your experiences with critique partners, how that went for you, what worked, what didn't work, how you found your critique partners, or if you're looking for critique partners, you might find your new critique partner in the comment section. Who knows? Put
Buddy
yourself
up
out
down
there.
there. Yeah.
All right. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful, amazing, fantastic day. Bye.
That was good.
It was.